I've had some bad days since I started work as a private investigator. But I'd never woken up dead before. It all started the week before, on a cold and wet Sectober day in Ankh-Morpork, the oldest and most depraved of all the cities on the Discworld. But hey, you've gotta love it. I'd been working as a PI for a little over a month, and business was slow. Hiring an investigator to look into your business requires trust, and the amount of trust in Ankh-Morpork wouldn't fill a cup. And it's a small cup I'm talking about. Sure, people trust that you don't get on the wrong side of the patrician. People trust that you don't walk into the shades alone. People trust that the Assassin's Guild will fulfill their contracts or double your money back. Yeah, people even trust death. Just don't ask them to trust their mothers.
Mr. Luton?
If I'm not, I should fire the guy who painted the door.
So this is what a private investigator looks like. I expected someone more heroic.
Heroism costs extra. What can I do for you, Miss...
Mrs., actually. And the name is Carlotta.
Okay, Mrs. Actually. Carlotta it is. What's a girl like you doing out on a night like this?
I want to hire you, Mr. Luton.
Please, call me Luton. Mr. sounds so formal.
How much do you charge for a simple investigation?
I don't know. I've never had a simple investigation. A tricky one is 20 a day.
I'll give you 200 in advance, plus expenses.
For 200, I guess I should treat you with some respect.
Oh, I wouldn't ask a guy like you to attempt the impossible.
What's the case?
I want you to find a man named Mundy.
Why do you want to find Mundy?
Do you know him?
No. And this case will go a lot faster if you let me ask the questions.
You like to be in control, don't you, Luton?
If you don't pull the strings, then you're the puppet. Tell me about you and Mundy.
I've been a lonely woman, Luton.
You amaze me.
Be surprised.
Shocked, maybe, but not surprised.
Mundy is my lover, Luton. Or used to be. He's been away for a while, over in Sort. He came back to Ankh-Morpork a couple of days ago on the Milka, but he didn't come to see me. I think he may be having an affair. You're wondering whether my husband knows about it.
Actually, I was wondering when you were going to give me the money.
My husband passed away several years ago.
I hope the poor guy was smiling at the time. Is there anything you can tell me about Mundy that might help me find him?
He's got blue eyes, brown hair, and a black heart. You'd like him.
Has he got any friends in Ankh-Morpork?
Does anyone?
How tall is he?
I don't know. I don't picture him standing up.
What was Mundy's business in sort?
I don't know. I never asked about his work, and he never told me.
Must be a very straightforward relationship.
As simple as they come.
Where can I find the ship he came in on?
Down at the wharf.
Have you been there yourself?
I avoid places like that. Women and seamen.
Forget I asked. This is a bad neighborhood for you to come into alone, Carlotta.
I can take care of myself.
I believe you.
Good. Trust is important.
I said I believed you. I never said I trusted you.
Don't you like me, Luton?
I like a lot of things. I like dogs, but I wouldn't trust one not to bite me.
I won't bite.
Shame. I haven't been bitten in a long while. I'd better get started on your case. Where can I contact you?
I'll be in touch. Be seeing you, Luton.
I hoped I would see her again, because she still hadn't paid me. Still, it wasn't every day that a beautiful woman offered me a case. Frankly, it wasn't often that anybody offered me a case. And 200 would certainly help pay the rent, if I had anything left over from my bar bill. The wharf was on the upmarket side of the river, in the city of Ankh. The Morpork docks on the other side of the river were not a place wise travelers disembarked at. But then again, wise travelers tried to avoid Ankh-Morpork altogether. But if you traveled a lot, it was hard to miss, like malaria. Are you the first mate?
Ah! Shiver me timbers! Hoist the main brace!
Let's start again. Are you the first mate?
Aye, that I be.
You're not going to get any money off me, so you can drop the fake accent.
Sorry, you know how it is. Some people are stupid enough to fall for that sort of thing. What can I do for you?
When do you sail?
As soon as we've got her loaded.
How much is passage?
Where are you looking to go?
I don't know. Sort, perhaps.
We've just come from there. It'll be a long time before we get back there again.
Did you bring any passengers?
Sure. We always try to take a couple of passengers. They pay their way, and if there's a big storm, they are very useful as to sacrifice to the angry sea gods. Of course, we tell people they were washed over the side.
What were the passengers on the last voyage like?
There were 3 of them. One of them seemed all right, but the other 2, I don't know about them. There was something strange about them.
This is the Milka, isn't it?
That's what it says on the prow.
It's impossible to read anything written on that hull.
Just because you can't read it doesn't mean it isn't there. Reality is subjective, after all.
Don't get all existential with me.
It was more ontological than existential.
That's a really bad habit you've got there.
What? Oh, sorry. I picked up a bad case of philosophy in Ephebi a couple of years ago, and I haven't been able to get rid of it since. Just can't seem to shake it off. Normal as anything one minute. Next moment, I'm wondering if anything can truly be said to exist. A bit of a drawback when you're supposed to be navigating.
Okay, assuming the existence of an objective shared universe, is this the Milka?
Yes.
Can I have a look on board?
No.
That better not be some kind of philosophical objection.
No one gets on board without Captain Jenkins' permission.
Where is the captain?
I don't know. But you could try the Cafe Ankh. He usually goes there when he's in Ankh-Morpork. If it exists, of course.
Was there a man named Mundy on the last voyage?
It's funny you should ask that. You're the second person today to have an interest in Mundy.
Who was the first?
A dwarf. He didn't give his name. I don't think he was from round here, though.
What about Mundy? What was he like?
I don't pry into the passenger's business. But for a man who came on board pretty happy, he seemed pretty unsettled when he left. Not that I blame him. Something was definitely amiss on this last voyage.
Do you know where he is now?
Mundy? No. Like I said, I don't pry into passenger's business.
Unless you actually look through their luggage after they've been washed over the side.
Hey, what are you inferring?
I'm not inferring anything. I'm implying that you might have had a look at their luggage at one point.
If I had, I certainly wouldn't admit it to you.
Which either means you didn't look, or you didn't find anything of interest.
You better watch your steps, son. It's not good to make accusations like that.
Don't worry. Anything we discuss is strictly between you, me, and anyone else I tell. Well, safe voyage, if that's possible. I figured the golem wouldn't notice that the crowbar had gone missing. Not that I'm saying it didn't need it, just that I'd figured I'd get away with stealing it. You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if everything was a blur when you met her. All that you remember are the tunes of a vampire, a melancholy tune about impending doom. I'll fetch your tankard, fill it to the brim. A cask of stale, broken drum ale. Wondering how long till you meet again on the bank of the Ang. Too much to drink, you could barely even think. Too much bear hunger when you met her. Yeah. You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if everything was a blur when you I thought I told you never to play that song again. Oh, sorry, Mr. Luton. It's just I wasn't expecting you to call by tonight, and... You weren't expecting me? It's only been 8 years, Samael. I guess my memory ain't what it used to be. I don't know why Samael put up with my temper. He could have broken every bone in my body if he'd wanted to. But that's what made him special, I guess. That he'd take almost any kind of abuse from the clientele, and he'd still be there at the piano, playing better than anyone else in Ankh-Morpork. Hello, Nobby.
Hello, Luton. How you been keeping?
I've been worse. Of course, I've been better, too. And I've been a hell of a lot better and not much worse.
That's good, isn't it?
Don't worry. If Commander Vimes sees us together, I'll tell him I made you talk to me.
It's not that I don't like you, Luton. I mean, we was friends and all. But it's just... well...
It's just he'd bite your head off if he saw you talking to me.
he'd go spare.
How you been keeping, Nobby? How's the rest of the watch?
Not so bad, Luton. Been keeping myself busy. Been working with Sergeant Colon.
How is old Fatty Colon?
Still fat. I'll tell him I saw you.
No, you won't.
Okay, so maybe I won't. I was just being trite.
Polite.
Yeah, that's the one.
What's Vimes up to these days?
He got married.
Married? He was only ever married to his job.
Nah, straight up. He married into nobility.
Old Stoneface in the nobility. That'd drive him crazy.
Well, he's sort of nobility himself now.
What?
They made him commander of the watch. And we got a great new premises down on Pseudopolis Yard. They're full of paintings and vases and all sorts.
Full?
Well, maybe not as full as when we moved in, but pretty full.
I'll have to call round sometime.
Yeah, that'd be good. We got a lot more members in the watch these days. And we got a new dartboard.
Life in the fast lane, huh? Do you seriously think it's a good idea for me to call around? I mean, Vimes isn't gonna like it.
Whatever you may think about him, he's loyal to his job. I can't say he'll welcome you with open arms, but he won't stop you.
Have you heard of the Milka? It arrived in town a short time ago.
How long ago?
3 days.
That's strange.
Why?
Well, there's been a string of odd murders in the last 3 days.
What do you mean, odd? I mean, this is Ankh-Morpork we're talking about.
I'm not sure I should discuss the details with a pavilion.
A civilian, Nobby. How much have you had to drink?
I'm as sober as the day I was born.
That's a frightening thought. I'll catch you later, Nobby. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, don't get caught doing anything I wouldn't do. Are you Captain Jenkins?
That depends on who's asking.
Don't play games. I'm just after a few answers.
That song really put you in a bad mood, didn't it?
If you're trying to get me angry, it's working.
No need to get upset. You need to drink more and think less.
If I drank any more than I do now, I'd never think again.
That's the ticket.
I'll see you around, Captain. I didn't much like being jammed into a crate and loaded onto the ship, but I could think of worse fates. Like being jammed into a crate full of rats and loaded onto the ship. What's your name then, little fellow? The hold was dark and dank, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I pulled the label out of the wreckage. It had writing on it that I couldn't understand. I searched a bunk and found a small scrap of cardboard. It could have been anything. There was a number on the back. Either a 6 or a 9. It was hard to say. I'd managed to remain hidden on the ship, but I knew my luck couldn't last forever, because I'd stopped being lucky around age 12. The first mate looked less than happy, but I don't think he saw who I was as I dived in elegantly on the Ankh. Fortunately, the crust of the Ankh was soft that night, and I escaped both injury and discovery, although I needed 2 baths just to feel dirty. On an ordinary night, I'd sit around waiting for business. But this night, business was coming to me, and bringing trouble with it. Business, I didn't mind. But trouble was an unwelcome guest. And like all unwelcome guests, it was hard to ask it to leave. And by the 3rd day, it was generally wearing your shirts and leaving its stuff in your bathroom.
Hello, Mr. Luton. I've been expecting you.
I should hope so. This is my office. How'd you get in?
Through the door. It was only locked. I know all about doors.
Good. Use this one to get out.
I have a message for you, Mr. Luton.
I don't take messages from strangers.
Then let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Al-Khali.
I don't take messages from dwarves named after cities.
My name isn't important.
You seem to think it was.
I've come to warn you to stay clear of the Mundy case.
I'll bear that in mind. Now get out.
If you don't stay clear of the Mundy case, something untoward may happen to you.
This is Ankh-Morpork. Something untoward may happen to me whether I investigate this case or not. Now either you get out or I'll throw you out.
Don't say I didn't warn you, Mr. Luton.
Don't say I didn't ignore you, Mr. Al-Khali. A dwarf named after the Klatchian city of Al-Khali, and a threat. This case was getting more interesting by the minute. All we needed was a troll and a member of the undead, and we could open an ethnic comedy on Broadway. Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
I gave the description of Al-Khali to the first mate, and he recognized it.
Yeah, that's the dwarf who was asking about Monday before. Strange little fellow.
A word of advice. Don't use phrases like strange little fellow when you're talking about dwarves. Especially not drunken dwarves, or dwarves like Al-Khali who seem to think they're invulnerable. Well, safe voyage, if that's possible. I headed over to Pseudopolis Yard, but Nobby wasn't there yet. I decided to come back later. Hello again, Nobby.
Hello, Luton.
Did I disturb you?
No. What made you think that?
Well, there appears to be smoke coming from your ear.
Oh, that. Well, I've been working hard, you see.
Working so hard that your ears have caught fire. Don't worry about it, Nobby. It's not like I'm going to report you.
I have been working, see?
Oh, sure. I never doubted it for a second. Do you know anything about some passengers that came into town by ship a few days ago?
That's not much to go on.
You're a corporal in the watch. You're supposed to have a keen, insightful mind.
They brought that regulation in after I joined.
Catch you later, Nobby. The trawl stepped out of the shadows like light was too intimidated to illuminate him. He seemed like the quiet sort, but you got the feeling that if you stepped out of line, you'd get your teeth kicked down your throat. For that matter, he could kick your throat down your chest and your chest through your legs. But I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, because none of my clothes would fit.
Find Therma.
Sorry, friend, I don't understand.
Find Therma.
You want me to find Therma? Is that it? Well, what is it? A person? A thing? Look, if we're going to carry out a conversation, it'd help for you to talk.
Find Therma.
Okay, find Therma. What's your name, friend? There was something about a trawl that big that made you want to call him friend.
Malachite. Find Therma. You've got to find her.
I wasn't about to argue with a trawl that could twist my head off and use it as a cocktail onion. Okay, friend. What can you tell me about her? Any suggestions of where I should start looking?
Used to sing at the Octarine Ballad. Find Therma. Got to find Therma.
How can I contact you?
Find Therma.
That was all he said. I guess he wasn't very bright. But then there's things under damp logs that are brighter than most trawls. Hello again.
Hello.
I don't suppose you've investigated the passengers on the Milka, have you?
Of course I have.
Sorry, but you're not the most, diligent of investigators.
I work as hard as any man of my rank.
You're the only man of your rank. There's 3 dwarfs, 2 trawl, a woman and a zombie with the same rank as you, but you're the only human male. I know you're human because you carry a bit of paper to prove it, signed by the midwife. The maleness, I'll take that on trust.
Do you want me to help you or not?
What have you got?
Well, I interviewed one of the passengers.
What did you learn?
That's official watch business.
You didn't learn anything, did you?
Not as such, no.
Any chance I could interview this passenger?
I don't see why not. She's down in the Cafe Ankh now.
Well, that's something, I guess. Catch you later, Nobby. Like measles, maybe. Or athlete's foot. You can't recall if the whiskey knocked you flat, or if everything was a blur when you met her. All that you remember are the tunes of a vampire, a melancholy tune. I thought I told you never to... Ilsa. I thought I would never see her again. I prayed that I'd never see her again. But either the gods didn't listen, or they were having a laugh at my expense. Knowing the gods of the Discworld, I had a pretty good idea which. Play it again, Sam. You know what? No one's ever going to believe you said that. Hello, Ilsa. How long's it been?
Too long.
That's funny. I was thinking that it wasn't long enough.
Aren't you pleased to see me?
Sure. Like a jellyfish praying for the tide to come in.
What's that supposed to mean?
If I always knew what I meant, I'd be a genius.
Back then, you always knew what to say.
I still know what to say. I just choose not to.
You're getting a big kick out of making me feel cheap, aren't you? Well, maybe I had it coming.
Hey, don't take my side. You'll take all the fun out of it. So, you came in on the Milka, did you?
Yes.
Alone?
No. I came with a companion.
It figures.
What?
Women like you are never alone.
I've been alone.
You know nothing about loneliness. You know nothing about what it's like to not know why you've been abandoned. You don't know what it's like to watch your career slip away because the one thing you care about has been taken from you. You don't know what it's like to spend years going into restaurants and asking for a table for one.
You don't eat in restaurants.
Okay, but if I did, that's what I'd ask for.
Why did you ask about the Milka?
You were traveling with a man, right?
Yes. His name's Two Conkers. How did you know?
It's my job to know.
You're being paid to find out where people board ships?
No, I'm a private investigator. Can you read this?
Yes. It says Pier 5.
What language?
Agatean.
How do you know an obscure language like that?
Actually, Two Conkers is from the counterweight continent. I learnt it from him.
I thought that people weren't allowed to leave the Agatean Empire.
Oh, things have freed up these days.
I'd be careful who you tell about Two Conkers, Ilsa.
Why?
People can be funny about foreigners. And there's always been rumors about the Empire. They say they use powerful magic there. The last time one of them arrived here, the city got burned down.
Two Conkers isn't going to burn the city down.
You know that, and I know that. But the average man on the street doesn't know that. They see the unknown as a threat.
Why? Two Conkers is harmless. No one's that stupid.
Let me let you in on a little-known secret. You know how stupid the average person is?
I think so, yes.
Well, statistically, half of them are even dumber than that. Don't go far. I might want to shout at you again.
I'm sorry, Luton.
Not sorry enough. I'd heard of the Octarine parrot. It made other dives sound appealing. What a place. I could feel the rats in the walls. Hell, I could see the rats in the walls. In fact, some of them had come out of the walls and were sitting at the tables.
I could see her a trail of destruction. Sandstone eyes, marbled feet. Crunch my hand whenever we meet. Why don't you chuck a stone? Take me home. Well, you're my favorite slab of quality granite. Roughly shaped. My baby wouldn't pass for a piece of slate. He's rock hard, skin like sandpaper. Baby, there's no one greater.
Can we talk?
Certainly look that way. Move mouth, waggle tongue. Yeah, it all working.
My name's Luton.
Sapphire.
I could already tell that Sapphire was a troll who could look after herself. I knew I'd have to watch my step around her. It was quite a long way round her, too, and not the pretty way. I don't suppose you'd know a big troll called Malachite.
Sure. He troll a few words, 'cause he don't know that many.
Do you know where I could find him?
Sapphire not seen him in years. But you try Rodin's workshop. He used to hang out there.
Have you heard of a troll singer named Therma? She used to work here.
Huh. A troll singer named Therma.
What's so funny?
Nothing. Sure, Sapphire know her.
Know where I could find her?
Try Morgue. She dead. Her house on Tallow Street collapsed while back now. We trolls may be tough, but we're not indestructible. Rumors say she was practicing her moves and knocked out load-bearing beam. Brought whole place down on top of her. That's why Sapphire never practiced.
That's the only reason.
That, and I don't wanna.
Know where she's buried?
Sapphire don't know, but think they buried her under stage name Madame Lodestone.
Madame Lodestone?
Sure, on account of how attractive she was.
I'll be back. Hello again.
Hello.
Have you ever heard of a troll by the name of Madame Lodestone?
Madame Lodestone. Oh, there's a name I've not heard in quite a while.
You know her then?
Well, no. But I've heard of her. She died in some sort of construction mishap.
A mishap, Nobby.
Whatever. Anyway, if memory serves, they put her body in the Salaci mausoleum. Don't know how she ended up in such an exclusive establishment, but that's how I heard it.
That doesn't sound very likely.
You did ask.
Catch you later, Nobby. I wasn't the disc's greatest climber, and the warehouse wasn't the easiest building to scale. I was going to need some help. The note had been pushed under my door by Carlotta.
Luton, I am anxious to see you again and to find out how the case is going. Come to the von Uberwald mansion on Moon Pond Lane. Carlotta von Uberwald.
So, Carlotta was a member of the von Uberwalds, one of the richest and most reclusive families in Ankh-Morpork. That explained why she could afford to offer to pay me so much. It didn't explain why she hadn't got around to paying me yet, but I could wait, at least until the rent was due. The Salaci family mausoleum was one of the most beautiful buildings I'd ever seen, nestled in an upmarket part of the city of Ankh. It was unguarded because, quite frankly, no one in their right mind would do anything to offend the Salaci family, given their ties to the Assassin's Guild. It wasn't just something that wasn't done, it was also something that wasn't survived. I tried to find Therma's grave, but it was a waste of time. You'd need to be an expert in heraldry or genealogy to even begin to navigate around it. I'll say this for the nobility, they keep their dead well indexed. I already had a bad feeling about the Mundy case, but learning that my employer was a von Uberwald didn't fill me with confidence. I didn't know the facts about the von Uberwalds, but the rumors were bad enough.
May I help you, sir?
You could let me in for a start.
Very good, sir.
And don't call me sir.
As you wish, sir. May I take your coat and hat, sir?
Thanks, but no. I feel naked without them.
That must make it difficult to clean them.
Was that a joke?
I never joke, sir. It's not my job. I may lie, dissemble, or deceive, but I never joke.
Look, I don't want you to take my coat, okay?
But of course, sir. Sir is welcome to drip all over the immaculate hardwood floor that I spent several hours polishing this morning, because Sir is a guest, and Sir is entitled to do whatever Sir wishes.
I have an invitation from Carlotta.
Ah, Sir is as quick to reach the point of Sir's visit as a tortoise with a war wound is in crossing a very large desert. I will fetch Mistress Carlotta for Sir, provided Sir would be so kind as to wait here and not to touch the valuable and irreplaceable furniture that adorns the room Sir is currently dripping on.
I'll see what I can do. The painting bore a striking resemblance to Carlotta.
The Duchess Charlotte von Uberwald, née Leopoldine. My predecessor, in a sense.
Oh? Are you a duchess?
No, but the resemblance is impressive, isn't it? My husband was struck by it from the moment I met him.
Where is your husband?
Dear Ulrich passed away during a civil uprising in Uberwald several years ago. Quite a terrible business, actually. Peasants, pitchforks, burning torches, the usual sort of thing.
Usual?
For Uberwald, certainly. Their ways may seem barbaric, but it's just the way things have always been done. If there wasn't a civil uprising every few years, I do believe the nobility would be most disappointed. Dying at the hands of a mob in a burning castle is practically traditional.
Tradition important to you, is it?
Ever the investigator, eh, Luton? Even your employer isn't beyond suspicion.
My old boss used to say that everyone was guilty of something.
And what are you guilty of?
Too many things, sweetie, but nothing you need to know about. I need your help.
I'm not hard to get, Luton. All you have to do is ask.
I need your knowledge. I need to find a particular tomb in the Salaci Mausoleum, but I don't know enough about genealogy. You do.
The Salaci Mausoleum? That could be trouble.
Don't worry. I'm not going to mess with the tombs. I know better than to offend a family whose ties with the Assassin's Guild go back to its very foundation. I just want to see if someone's buried there.
Who's the stiff?
A troll named Therma.
A dead troll? You don't get much stiffer than that, I suppose.
Will you help me or not?
Of course, although I'm not really properly dressed for a mausoleum. You don't mind waiting while I get changed?
It's not like Therma's going anywhere.
If Sir is not too busy, the master of the house wishes a word with you.
And if I am too busy?
The master of the house still wishes a word with you, and I shall be forced to beg.
That sounds like it could be fun.
Did I say beg, sir? I meant resort to violence.
In which case, lead the way.
Mr. Luton, as I understand it, my daughter-in-law has retained you to investigate a certain matter for her.
That's correct.
Then I take it you will be a frequent visitor to my house.
It seems likely.
Do you know who I am?
I know that they call you the Count.
Do you know why they call me the Count? Because I am a Count. Count Henning von Uberwald. One of the Blintz von Uberwalds, I ought to add, because frankly, Uberwald had an uncountable number of counts. And I'm trapped in Ankh-Morpork at the moment because my current infirmity prohibits me from leaving this room.
That doesn't explain why you wanted to see me.
I wish to know what my daughter-in-law has you investigating.
That's between me and her.
No, Mr. Luton. I rather suspect it isn't. You see, Carlotta's hands are not on the von Uberwald purse strings, but mine are.
So you're saying I won't get paid unless I tell you what I'm doing?
No, I'm implying that. Whether or not you actually get paid is a different issue.
What's it to you?
I get very bored. I'm interested as to what goes on around me.
All right. I'm tracking someone for her.
Someone who is missing?
That's right. A man named Mundy.
Oh, I see. Very well. If you keep me informed on the progress of the case periodically, I will ensure that you receive payment.
I'll be back later.
I look forward to it.
Now let's get this straight. We're looking for a troll named Therma.
As far as I know, yes, but she may be in here under the name Madame Lodestone.
Okay, then we can rule out the Fornix Sanguis Ceruleus.
What?
The Blue Blood Vault. We can probably eliminate the heroic decapitated war veterans vault and the thoroughbred pet vault. Do you know what relation this troll had to the Selaci family?
Does there have to be one?
She wouldn't be buried here if she wasn't.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. It took Carlotta a while to work it out, but we eventually found a Madame Lodestone in the Fornix Famulus, the servitor's vault. Guess she used to keep the floors real clean or something.
Here we are. Madame Lodestone.
There's an inscription. Madame Lodestone, singer and retainer of Lord Robert Selaci, taken from us when her house collapsed, returning her to the rubble from whence she came. Not much of an epitaph. Still, it's more than I expect mine will say. I'll probably end up with whatever's written on the cement bag round my feet. Carlotta? Carlotta? She disappeared without even a word. I couldn't work that woman out. Still, she'd found me the tomb, which left me trying to decide whether or not to tell Malachite. Hello again.
I take it Sir still does not wish for me to take Sir's coat.
No.
Very good, sir. Please feel free to continue to damage the priceless hardwood floor.
What can you tell me about the Count?
I regret to inform, sir, that the Count's health has been in gradual decline and that he will probably not live to see the new year.
That's 5 months away.
Sir's grasp of mathematics dazzles me, sir.
What's the problem?
Merely that, unlike Sir, I have not been blessed with a truly dizzying intellect.
With the Count, I mean.
The Count's health has been failing for some years now, but I believe he has never been so bad as since the loss of his one companion.
His companion? Who's that?
I fear that my idle tongue has already revealed too much of the Count's private affairs, and I would ask that Sir respect the Count's privacy, lest I be forced to provide Sir with a thick ear.
I'll be back. I bet you can't wait.
Indeed, sir. My anticipation is almost tangible.
Go and polish that floor, will you?
Ah, Mr. Luton. How may I help you now?
Just a few questions. Your interest in the Mundy case wouldn't have something to do with your missing companion, would it?
Why, Mr. Luton, I'm impressed. You actually do have some detective skills.
What's the deal?
He was my friend. Perhaps my last friend. He was a dwarf of simple tastes, and when I was younger, he drove my carriage for me. These days, given that I am confined to the conservatory, I have no need for a driver, but I kept Regin on the payroll so that I should have someone to talk to.
When did he go missing?
3 days ago. He took the carriage out that night and has not been seen since.
And you thought Carlotta might have employed me to look for him?
I was hoping, yes.
You could always employ me to find him.
Wouldn't that be a conflict of interests?
I don't see why. Anyway, there isn't a conflict of interest that I know about that couldn't be solved with a generous cash settlement.
Be assured that if you can find Regin, I can offer you substantial recompense.
Then I'll see what I can do. The Count gave me an iconograph of Reagan to help my investigations. My mind was already racing. 3 days ago, the Milka arrives. 3 days ago, Reagan disappears. Now, I believe in coincidences. Coincidences happen every day. But I don't trust coincidences. Something deeper was going on here, and I was going to find out what. Because I can't stand a secret, and because I have a burning need to find the truth. But mostly because there was a wad of money in it for me if I found out. I'll be back later.
I look forward to it.
Still here?
Not for much longer, I hope.
I showed Reagan's picture to the first mate, and he recognized it.
Yes, I think that was the dwarf who pulled up in a carriage shortly after we docked. I think he collected some of the cargo, too.
Do you remember which way he went?
He drove away upwards at high speed. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd caused an accident somewhere down the line.
Well, safe voyage, if that's possible. Hello again.
Hello.
Did anyone report a speeding carriage 3 days ago?
Funny you should ask that. Sergeant Colon was almost run down by a carriage 3 days ago. He's been going on about it ever since. Says we ought to have speed limits for carriages.
How would you tell what speed a carriage was going?
Well, a watchman's instincts are never wrong.
You could always go for a more preventative approach.
Like what?
Well, you could ban carriages altogether.
Yeah, that'd work.
Hey, you could go one step further. You could ban people from Ankh-Morpork, and then there'd be no crime at all.
Well, there'd still be the trolls and the dwarfs, and the gargoyles, and the gnomes, and the undead and the golems. Of course, the golems don't make much crime, and the gargoyles' only crime is Avicide, and it's not like we're short of pigeons. But the trolls and the dwarfs, well, I mean, they make as much crime as any of the humans, maybe even more.
It's no fun when it's this easy. Like shooting fish at a barrel.
Hey?
Never mind. About this carriage the other night. Where did Colon see it?
I think he said it was headed for the Magdalen Bridge.
It wasn't much of a lead, but at least it was something. Usually you could only get a lead out of Nobby with a scalpel. Catch you later, Nobby. Like measles, maybe. Or athlete's foot. You're a tough trawl to find, Malachite. You could say something. Okay, so I'll do the talking. Well, I think I found Therma's body. It's in the Salachi Mausoleum.
Need to see body. Take me there.
Okay. Nice to see someone dealing with the grieving process at high speed. Cut straight to the acceptance. It saves a lot of time, doesn't it? I don't know why I bother sometimes. Not as if he's listening to me. Maybe it'd help if I hit him with something, like maybe a really heavy building.
Need to see body.
Of course you do. Here's the tomb.
Need to see body.
Hey, it's going to be pretty ugly in there. I mean, she was crushed under a house. That'd mess up even a trawl.
Need to see body.
Malachite pushed the slab off the tomb like he was opening a jam jar. Inside was some rubble that I assumed was Therma's body. Frankly, there wasn't much to go on. Trolls are rocks, and that's the whole story.
Not Therma. Keep looking.
Are you crazy? How could you tell?
Not Therma. Keep looking.
I was beginning to wonder if Malachite was mad. If he was, I could at least make use of it. Okay, I've got no soul. I must be a heel. All right, I'll keep looking. But I've got a problem. There's this building I need to get into, but I can't do it. I need a grappling iron. A grappling iron like the one you have. Look, I need to borrow your grappling iron. Do you understand?
Give you hook. You find Therma.
That's the deal. I couldn't help but wonder what it meant if that rubble wasn't Therma. Had Sapphire lied to me? I wouldn't be surprised. Frankly, I was more surprised by people telling me the truth than telling lies. Lies flow like water, but the truth burns. That's not a bad line. I better write that down. Malachite gave me the grapple and left the mausoleum without another word. I examined the body closely, but all I could see of interest were the troll's diamond teeth glinting at me. All my best instincts told me not to take the tooth, but I just ignored them. Breaking into the warehouse was easier than I thought, but then I was a natural pessimist. Living in Ankh-Morpork did that to a man. What little light there was in the warehouse was coming through the skylight, and shadows played on the walls as I searched for something to help the case. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I was desperate enough that anything would do. The scrap of cardboard I'd found on the Milka matched the torn matchbook exactly. The Maudlin Bridge was one of 10 bridges that linked the city of Ankh to the city of Morpork. It was an unremarkable structure, most famous for the number of suicides it attracted. The trouble with trying to drown yourself in the Ankh is that you're more likely to break a leg falling onto the thick crust of the river than actually come near any water. Still, if you were heavy enough, you could eventually sink into the depths. I can think of nicer ways to go, though, and much quicker ones, too. There was something down there. I was sure of it. But I wasn't strong enough to pull it up.
Can I help you?
You could sell me a drink.
What's your poison?
I'd prefer whiskey straight with a whiskey chaser.
You didn't come here to drink, did you?
Well, I didn't come here for the sparkling conversation. Most of the customers go squeak, squeak. I gave Mencken Mundy's description and asked if he'd seen him. He told me that he hadn't. Maybe I could trust him. A half-elf doesn't need to make any more enemies. Do you know what this is?
It's a matchbook.
Any reason it might have the address of the parrot written on the back?
None that has anything to do with me.
I knew he was hiding something. The question was, how could I get it out of him? I'm against unnecessary violence. Besides, these skinny types can be tougher than they look. So you don't know Mundy?
I've already told you that I don't.
And this matchbook means nothing to you?
Do you practice to become this irritating?
Well, I'm confused. You see, this is Mundy's handwriting on the matchbook, and this is your address he wrote. Shall I tell you what I think?
I don't think I have that much choice.
I think Mundy is here, but he told you not to tell anyone that he's here.
You're just making it up as you go along.
Well, I could always go and fetch the watch. I heard they were looking for Mundy too, and if he's not here, you wouldn't have to worry about being charged with hiding a known fugitive. They can get so impatient.
Mundy's not a fugitive.
How would you know? You little...
All right, you win. He's upstairs, but don't tell him I told you.
I wouldn't dream of ruining your reputation in high society. Until later, Mencken. I'd gone to a lot of trouble to find Mundy, and now the goal was in reach. It seemed like an anticlimax. I couldn't quite see what Mundy was doing when I entered his room, and seconds later I couldn't see anything at all. The last thing I saw as I passed out of consciousness was the floor rushing up to meet me.